Hello everybody, Matt Williamson Motorcycles here, offering another one of our tech tips video. In today's video we're going to give you a rundown of how we install heated grips. Now we are using the fantastic Hot Grips Pro system. These are some of our best selling grips. Obviously Oxford do a wide range, we can supply and install any of these, but this bike is pre-sold and the customer has chosen the Hot Grips Pro. So what these have is the sleek inbuilt button instead of the big box that goes on the handlebars, and that's why they've become so popular and they're our best selling grip this year, just because they have a much sleeker design. So as I mentioned, we've sold the CB500X. We like to make our bikes fit our customers' needs, so before collection we're going to fit the heated grip system for him, and we thought for any of our viewers out there who are thinking of trying it themselves, this is how we would do it. So what's in the box? Obviously we've got the left hand grip. This is the one that holds the control module, so as you can see, nice and sleek built in there. Obviously the throttle hand and then the adapters. Now why I like these as well, direct feed to the battery, so we don't have to mess cutting into any wiring looms. We just go direct to the battery and feed along through the motorbike. So first things first, we locate the battery. Nice and simple on these, it's just under the seat. So, a little tip of mine, the first thing that I like to do is test that the grips actually work. There's no point building it all up, sticking them on, doing it all, and then you go turn them on and for some reason they don't work. Now, I've never come across a faulty batch, but it is just something I always do. Before I get into the installation, I'll just check that the grips do work. So, as you can see, I've just quickly connected it all together just to do a quick check to make sure it's all operational. So, ignition on. And we'll just press and hold, and as we can see, the grips are now lighting up. So obviously because the bike's not running, this is now showing that the eco mode is working correctly. Again, another good function that these grips have. So I now know that it's doing exactly what it should do and we're ready to go and install. One thing that's really good with these is it's just real quick and easy push and pull system. So everything is connected just by these little pins, and each single system is different, so you can make sure that you're always connecting the correct one. So obviously that's the grips, and then that's to the wiring harness, and you see how the grip was a 3-pin, the harness is a 2-pin. It's just a clever system so you know that you're never getting it wrong. So the next step that I'll do before I mess with all the wiring is I'll get the grips fitted. This way, whilst you're neatening all the electrics up, the glue can be setting. So the first step will be to remove the bar ends. Obviously each bike will be different. Most bikes will just have a bar end. As you can see, because this has got the handguard set up, what I'll do is I'll remove the end of the handguard, the bar end will come with it, and then I'll just loosen this to drop the handguard down. This way I won't have to remove the entire handguard, but I'll get access to this grip. So as you can see, I've just loosened the handguard and pulled it away. Just for me on this particular job, it was just convenience. It means I've not had to remove the handguard completely. I've just shifted it out of the way. Now for the grips, you have two ways of removing the old grips. If you're just all about speed and you don't care, simply just a Stanley knife, quick slice, remove the old grip, but obviously that grip just gets thrown away. For anybody who wants to keep the old grip, I'll now show you a little trick I've learned. So if you'd like to get the grip off and able to save it, what I do is I just get a screwdriver in and we'll go in and around to loosen the original glue that was done from the factory. So I'll start off at this end, and as you can see, I just rotate the screwdriver around, just break the seal, and then just very, very gently, so we don't mark anything, I just prise it away from the switch gear up at the top. As you can see, we've not caused any scratches or anything. Next up, we take the airline, push it in the end, off it goes, and that's saved your grip. So as you can see, I've just repeated the process, just dropped the handguard down, protecting the tank with this towel. Obviously we don't want to cause any scratches. Now, the throttle tube is actually molded, so it's not able to get this grip off and save it, so we will have to cut it off. So obviously that's the quick and easy way to remove a grip, but obviously that's no use anymore. So at this stage now, if you're fortunate enough that you've got one of the bikes that has a standard throttle tube, easy peasy. You can skip to the next section. If you're like us and you've got a bike with a moulded throttle tube, again, you've got a few options. You can either buy a separate plain tube, or like our customer, he didn't want to go to the added expense. So what you have to do is you have to file this down. So again, you've got multiple options. You can either use a bit of sandpaper, a file, or in my case, because I've got one, I'm going to use my Dremel. It just makes it a lot quicker, a lot easier, and I can get a bit more precise job on it. So one of those tedious tasks, but not too bad once you get started. Now it's done, nice and smooth, ready for the grip to go on. So I'm going to start on the left side, the controller side. So first things first, we need to clean up this bar, get rid of any last bits of the old glue, so you can just literally just rub your fingers to just rub those little bits of glue off. I'll be honest with you, the glue that comes from the factory is not the best, so it soon comes off. And just a bit of brake cleaner or contact cleaner, whichever you use. Just put that on the grip. That gets it nice and clean and ready for the Oxford grip to go on. Now you do get their own Oxford super glue, part of the kit. Very good stuff. However, just through all my years and my racing years, I've always used Renthall's grip glue. So even though we get this, I always use my own. This is just a personal preference because I've used it for ages and it's never let me down. So before I put the grip on, I just like to get a sort of rough idea about the position that I'm going to do it, because obviously once you've applied the glue and put the grip on, that's where it's going to stay. So obviously we want it just about level. So what I'm going to do with this bike is make it so the button runs in line with the horn. So that's going to be my trajectory. So you just apply the glue. Like I said, if you're using Oxford's own, you'll do it the exact same way. I'm just using this, as I say, because I've used it for many years and I just have confidence in it. That's the only reason why. So just a good smear. It's very, very strong stuff, so you don't have to go mental, because when you put the grip on, that will also spread it. So put it on. You've got to give it a good shove. Put it on like you really want it to go on. So just get it round. Bit of twisting motion, just like that. And as we say, I wanted it to go in line with the horn. Grip number one on. So I'm going to do the same on this side, just with my brake cleaner. Again, you can use contact cleaner, carb cleaner, whatever you use, it pretty much does the same job. Just give that sleeve a good dry up. Then we apply the glue. Again, you don't have to go mental, just a light smear all the way around. So same again, get it over the edge, give it a good shove right up. Obviously we don't go quite as far on this, because obviously if you go right up and it gets a bit of glue, you get a bit of friction and you won't get smooth operation. So we don't go quite right to the stop, but on we go. So this is where if you just have standard bar ends, you'd put the bar ends back in, but obviously with this bike having the handguards, I'm just going to slot the handguard back in and we just tighten it up from the side, and what that does is it spreads the mechanism inside, and then we'll just tighten back up top. I'm just doing the same on this side, reapplying the handguard back to the throttle, but again you should always check, same with bar ends, when you've just got to find the correct tightness so that you've still got nice play in your throttle. So now we've got both grips on, throttle's moving nicely, so now the next stage is the wiring. So again, this will all depend on what bike you've got as to what trajectory you want to take on this one. Obviously just take your time, plan your route. On this bike, we're fortunate that we've got all these covers. I'm going to run it up the left hand side of the bike. So I'm going to remove these panels from the side and we'll nice and neatly tuck it up, and then we can join in up top with the grips. So I'm just taking my time and I'm just routing the wiring up alongside the frame so that it stays out of harm's way and nice and secure, as you can see. Again, this will all depend on what bike you've got as to what route you can take, but as you can see, we've gone from the battery, all nice and neat on the back side of the frame, and it will run right up through. So I'm going to secure this first section here. Obviously we just use zip tie. Now obviously you want to go tight enough that it takes a grip of the cable, but obviously not too tight that it will do any chafing. And I've also just attached it just neatly here. Again, we're not going too tight, but it just holds it up and we can continue working our way upwards. So on this bike, we're fortunate enough I don't have to remove the full front fairing. We've just loosened the bolts and there's enough room for me to just gently tuck the cable through without having to remove the entire section. So now, as you can see, we've taken our time nice and neatly, got the cable through. It's not on show, it's not drooping, it's all nice and secure, and we've got the main power cable up here ready. So now again it's time to plan our routes and connect the two grips to the main frame. So we're going to start on the left hand side. So you'll see they actually have nodules on this bike. A lot of bikes are very similar. So there's some nodules here on the underside, and this will hold this wiring harness. So I'm going to tuck it in there, and then what I'll do is I'll connect it with a zip tie again just to the initial start of this wiring harness, and this will keep it nice and tight at the beginning. And then as you can see, a lot of bikes are the same. They have the wiring harness clips, and there is usually enough room. So what I'll do is I'm going to run this cable and I'll join it into this clip. So as you can see, I've now joined it into the original Honda clip. So it's now going to run seamlessly along with the existing wiring, so it just doesn't look messy. So what I'm going to do now, again, a lot of bikes are very similar. You can see it's got the original ignition coils here. And what that does is there's some metal straps that hold all the wiring in place, and there's enough room for me to tuck these through, and it keeps everything nice and neat and running in line with the genuine wiring harness. So as you can see now, we've started here, not gone too tight, so it does have a bit of movement. We've run along its existing wiring harness, down through the mount, under, and it can run alongside the original wiring loom, and now we're where the connectors are. So now we move over to the throttle side. So similar thing, I'm going to run underneath. However, when you do the throttle, you've got to give yourself a little bit more slack, so that when you obviously accelerate, you can see here, obviously if you do it dead tight, you won't be able to accelerate. So you just got to give yourself a little bit of a loop so that it has enough room for the acceleration. So same thing, I'm going to start the initial cable running on the wiring harness with a zip tie, but again, before you go tight, you just got to keep just checking, make sure you've got the correct amount of play, and then just give it a nip. And as you can see, you can still just slightly pull it out, and I know now that's nice, nothing's compromised, we've got enough movement there. Then we're going to do the same thing. It also has the genuine clip here holding all this wiring harness in, so we'll undo this clip and join this into the main harness. So you can see that's all now nice and neat, running in line, so again it's just not messy. So basically what we've done now is we've run the cable nice and neatly along the main frame. This one's nice and neat, so everything's behind the yoke here. So now it's time to connect. So as we mentioned, each one has a different number of pins so that you can never get it wrong. So obviously this is the left one, and it's the 2 pins, and we've got the nodule there that goes into this groove. So you simply line it up. Obviously they're tight fit so that nothing, obviously any water. You can see it's got a nice rubber seal, and then we've got the screw end to tighten it all together. So that's one side connected, and now I'll just have to reposition myself so that I can connect the right hand grip into this last one. So now we do the throttle side. So again, as you can see, it's 3 pins so that you can't make a mistake, and we just line up the notches and then gotta wind that down, screw it together, and it makes a nice seal. So you can see here now we've got both grips connected to the harness, and I've got it all nicely down this side, nicely down this side. So now what I'll do, I'm going to have to go from the underneath so that I can get to the main wiring harness on the front, and I'll be able to neaten these wires up down there. So now what we'll do is, now we've got it all connected, we'll just gently turn the steering lock from left to right. Whilst doing so, just check where you've routed your cables, just to make sure that nothing's snagging. Whilst I'm on full lock, check that we can still get acceleration, and just take your time and just have a good notice and just make sure that you've not got any snagging or compromised wires anywhere. So that's it, I've connected all my wiring, it's nice and neat, you can't even see where I've been. So now I'm going to put the panels and the seat back on. So that's it, seats back on. So next thing, we'll just double check that everything's working as it should be. Ignition on, we'll start the bike up. And then
so red gives you obviously first and hottest setting, and then you've got middle and low, and then if you press and hold again, you turn on. And a very good system. But there are 3-tier systems, so you've got 3 different stages, and all you have is that nice little button. So as you can see now, the bar's nice and clear, there's no pops, there's no wiring, everything is all nice and neat. And this customer now has some nice heated grips.
So that's it, the bike's all put back together. The customer's now got his nice and neat heated grips on here, so I'll now give the bike a polish over, get rid of my fingerprints. We always go the extra mile to make sure everything is presented to the highest standard, and this new owner will be collecting his bike in the morning. So I hope you found this video informative. If you did want to fit some heated grips on your own, hopefully now this has just helped you on your way. It's not a majorly difficult job, it's all about just thinking it through before you do it. Take your time, prepare how you want to get your wiring, just take your time, make it nice and neat, and it's not a difficult job. Now we can supply and fit a wide range of parts and accessories here at Matt Williamson Motorcycles, and if you have enjoyed the video or would like to ask any more information on any of the steps, just drop a comment in the comment section below. Obviously, keep it friendly, we're all one big biking community here, but if you do have any questions, drop a comment, I will get back to you. I'm going to try and do some more tech tips videos moving forward. If you do have any ideas or things that you'd like to see, again, drop a comment and we'll work on that for you.